Hey everybody, it's Dina Rico with the Creativity Cave. I'm so excited to stamp with you today. I have this gorgeous card featuring this beautiful intricate die cut, which you can get from my online store. It is part of one of my favorite bundles. In fact, I love it so much. I have an online class available for it, and I think you're really going to love it. That bundle is the Artistically Inked bundle, and you can see it has this gorgeous intricate die cut. It also has die cuts to stamp to die cut the various images in the stamp set and some wonderful sentiments. So let's get started on this card. I really love it. Can you tell? Okay, so I've got some great tips and tricks for you along the way. We're going to start with three strips of cardstock. They are 1 1/4 by 4 1/4 inches long, and we're going to do a little stamping on each of them. Now, whenever I stamp on a paper where I'm going to go off the edges, I like to bring in my mini grid paper. This is just a cute little pad of paper. I love it because it's got measurements, so you can measure your cardstock on it really easily, but you can also stamp on it and it won't make your work surface dirty, which is really helpful. Okay, so I'm going to do one of these strips at a time. I'll start with my Magenta Madness, and I'll take the large image from this stamp. I love these stamps because they're just so pretty. They have lots of fun detail in them, and I'm just stamping this, overlapping the images on to this piece of cardstock. So that just looks pretty, I think. Then I'll repeat that process with the other two strips. I've got Pale Papaya ink to go on my Pale Papaya cardstock, and we'll do that with this circular image from the set. Again, I'm overlapping. Actually, I kind of like the look of the overlapping. It's just pretty. So there's that one, and then we'll finish up with the Coastal Cabana. As you well know, the color that lets us know God loves us. I love this color. I'm a sucker for all things aqua, so this one is great. And this is just a cute little stamped image that has these little flowers on them. Now, all of these images were actually created with like alcohol blending techniques, and they made stamped images out of them, which I think is really cool. So there we have that one. All right, next I'm going to take and distress each of these little strips a little bit with my paper snips. This is easy to do, but you just want to be careful that you don't cut yourself, because you know that's never good. So I'll open my snips up and just run the edge lightly over each side. And that just creates a little bit of a distressed look. It's nothing major, but it's just kind of adds to some of the little touches that I've done to make this card a little extra, you know? I love making cards that are extra. And it doesn't have to be complicated or difficult. Just a few little things that you can do really can make a card stand out. Okay, so we've got those pieces all prepared, so that's great. The next thing I'm going to do is put our pieces together. So I'm going to start with a basic black card base. This is just a half a sheet of cardstock. And as I mentioned, all the supplies that I am using on my project today can be found in the online store. There's a link to those supplies, as well as my blog post that will have a complete list, as well as all the photos and written dimensions. So you can click on that. Okay, so I've got my half sheet of cardstock folded. I've cut a piece of printed paper. This is from the Pattern Party Host DSP. You can get this for free with Stampin' Rewards on orders of $150 or more in my online store. So that's really great. It's a huge pack of DSP. Every piece has a black and white pattern on one side and a colorful pattern on the other side. So it's lots of fun. All right, I have die cut that beautiful intricate die from our bundle here out of a 4 by 5¼ inch piece of black cardstock. And then my DSP is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And I'm going to put that right over the top like so. And this just gives me a little extra sturdiness to my card. And since we're covering this up, it's not wasting paper. The other thing I like about this is I'm gonna be able to tie ribbon around this panel and attach it to my card eventually, which is really helpful. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna adhere these 3 panels. Oh, and I just ran out of my seal. Never fear, I've got more right here. So I'm just going to put a line of adhesive down the center of my 3 panels, and I'll kind of place them on here. One of my favorite things about seal is it's not permanent until about 20 minutes after you've placed it on your project. So you've got a little time to kind of rearrange things. So I'm just kind of putting these a little bit at angles to one another. And then I'll press these down. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to fit this beautiful die cut image on top. I notice there's just a couple little bits that didn't come out when I die cut this. I was really impressed with how all the pieces just fell right out. So that made me happy. I love when that happens on these big intricate dies. Now, if you have trouble with your die, here's a couple of tips, because sometimes these intricate dies can be a little challenging. One tip is, and actually I did do this earlier, was to use some waxed paper, and you just put the waxed paper between your die and the cardstock. So you would put cardstock, like cardstock, wax paper, and then the die on top, and run it through your machine just like normal. Another thing you can do sometimes is to add a shim, just a piece of cardstock over your die on top of everything. And that just helps a little bit too. Every single die cutting machine is a little bit different. And so sometimes you might want to try a little extra something. Like I said, I found that my die, just all the pieces fell out except for a couple of those little center ones that I just kind of scraped, and they popped right out. So I love that about our dies. They're really nicely made. And that wasn't always the case. Dies have come a long way in the Stampin' industry over the last 10 or so years. Okay, so I'm just going to put a couple of glue dots on here, literally just 2. That's all I'm using to hold this to my card, which is just fine. They're kind of under those spots. They won't really show. Now I want to tie some ribbon around this to make it pretty. I mean, it's pretty already, but like I told you, this card is extra. So, and if you stay till the end, I have a little box with a tag that coordinates with all of this. This would be a great way to give a gift card or cash to somebody in this little box that I'll show you. So it's really a nice gift for somebody if you wanted to. So I'm going to just tie a little bit of this beautiful sheer pool party ribbon on. Got my bow right over to the side because I want to add my sentiment, which is happy birthday. And I think I have a couple birthdays coming up in my world that I think these cards would be really pretty for. So one is for my sister. I'm pretty sure she won't watch this video. She's not a stamper. So I think it'll be okay. Okay, so we've got that. Now I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to take a scrap of some black cardstock. This is actually left over from trimming the black layer we had on there. And I'm going to stamp this with my sentiment from our stamp set and some Versamark ink. Okay, so to do that, I just want to, Ooh, where did it go? Look at this is the good Versamark. I have some, let's just say, well-loved Versamark pads as well. Okay, so I'm just going to position this near the edge. This is a 1/2-inch strip. And then we're going to use some white embossing powder to emboss this. And I'll just tap off the excess, and then I'm going to heat emboss. Okay, there we go. And then I'm also going to punch this with my Pick a Banner punch. So I love, this is one of my favorite punches. You can put up to 1 inch paper in here. I'm just going to punch the ends of that. Snip off the excess. And we'll throw that back in there like so. Now I can add this to my card, and a little tip, I'm actually going to, oops, this is my empty one. I'm going to sneak up a little bit of seal on here to hold my ribbon in place, because I'm also going to adhere my, my embossed piece right over this ribbon. So I want it to kind of not just be free floating in the air too much. Okay, and I put that right on there, so I couldn't remember if I'd popped it up or not. Okay, so there's my sentiment. Now we're not done yet. I've got some really awesome touches to finish this card up. First and foremost, I'm going to take a black Stampin' Write marker. These are our water-based marker, not our alcohol-based markers, and I'm just going to put the tip in the cap and spritz on here. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that you don't have anything in the vicinity that can get dirty, because it will get around. Okay, so there we go. I'll do that once or twice, and look at all of that fun black speckly ink that got on there. I want just a little more at the top. There we go. Now we're good. Okay. Isn't that fun? I'm going to do the same thing, but you do it in a slightly different process. And that is, I'm going to take my clear Wink Stella, and I want to get some of the same effect on here. So I'm just going to take and smack this against something, and I'll get little speckles as well of shimmer. Okay. So I'm hitting it pretty hard, but what happens is you get these beautiful speckles, and now your card is sparkly. Who does not like a sparkly card? I love sparkles. Okay, I'm going to take one of our new embellishments, the brushed brass butterflies, and position these on my card. They're so pretty. They're really thin, so they mail wonderfully. And I'm literally going to put one right on here. And then they come in 2 sizes. Oops. And I'll flip that one over and place that right there. And then one more over here. So look at those gorgeous embellishments. They're so pretty. Okay, now I'll take this entire panel, flip it over, and add some dimensionals to the back so that I can pop it up onto my card. And then for the inside of my card, I'm just going to put a 4 by 5 1/4 inch white panel, and then I've attached just a leftover strip of my DSP for the inside. Okay. Oh, isn't this just stunning? Okay, so for the inside of the card, that is what I put on there. So it's about an inch strip that goes at the bottom. Okay, now I want to show you one more thing. I also made this little box with a tag. Now you can put your cards in this box. Like you could make a set of cards and they would fit really nicely in the box with some envelopes. Or you can put like a gift in here, like cash or a gift card or a small gift. Maybe, you know, jewelry, diamonds would fit in here. Like you could put a whole bunch of diamonds in here. But let me show you how I'm going to decorate this. So I've got a strip of cardstock. This is 1.5 inches by 8 and I believe an 1/8 or even just a 1/16. Whenever you wrap around a box, that bend takes up just a little bit of space. So just be aware of that. Now I'm going to take one of my images here and I'm going to stamp the background of this panel because I feel like I didn't attach it onto my box. I felt like it was a little too plain. So I want to clean my stamp. I use this one with pale papaya, but we're going to stamp it on this piece with some Coastal Cabana because you know it's the best color. Okay, so I'll just add some of these circles. I'm kind of turning the direction so that they're not all in the same orientation on here. There's a little variety. You can also sneak in some leaves if you want. So I can just add a couple of leaves. I might just do that like so. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to add this to my card box, and I'm just going to the edge so that my box still opens normally. And to do that, I'll just put a little adhesive on the tab on the side and right next to it. You could put adhesive all the way, but I don't want this to show through the center window sheet that's in here. Okay, so then when you open it, you don't see any adhesive, which is nice. Okay, so there's the box. Now to make the tag that I'm going to put on here, let me show you how I did that. And you can pop this up onto the box. That's always pretty. Let me grab a couple of my dimensionals and just position those dimensionals on here like so. And then let me show you how I made the tag. So I'm going to start with a tag that I die cut with the Tailor-Made Tags dies. This is a set of dies that has a whole bunch. The one missing is this one on here. And then there's also fasteners. That's actually two styles of fastener. Only one was on there. I also die cut a scrap of that same coordinating DSP with this tag, and I'm just going to adhere that right over the top. Now I thought about adding a sentiment like best wishes to this. Ooh, this is a little taller than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. It honestly doesn't really matter. I'm just going to trim it down just a skosh. It doesn't matter how tall it is really, but I liked there being a little bit of white space at the top. So again, if you wanted to add a sentiment, there's a hello or a best wishes that would fit on here. That would be lovely. Okay, so because I die cut both of these, they line up perfectly. And then I'm going to use my stamps and a scrap of paper and stamp these down. So I'm going to stamp that large flower image in Magenta Madness. Oh, so pretty. I'm going to stamp my leaves in some Granny Apple Green. This is a color we haven't had yet. Like so. And then there's a pretty little center, and we're actually going to stamp that in some black Memento ink. I think this is really pretty. Okay, now I love all of the texture built into these stamps. I didn't do anything to them but ink them up, and they stamp out so gorgeous. Now I'll take the dies from my set of dies and run these through my machine, and I'll be right back and we'll put that tag and box together. Okay, I've got my die cut pieces. I've got my tag, so let's put it all together. So I'm just going to pop this up onto my tag, but I'm going to have it stick out on the side a little bit because I want to be able to see that gorgeous printed paper. It is for sure my favorite print. I just love this. I'm just going to kind of position it like about that. And then I'm going to curl my leaves because I just can't help myself. I love that. I'm going to put a glue dot on the top of my leaf so that I can position it under here like so. And then, of course, I'm popping up the center. I just love this black center too. It's so pretty. Okay, I'll add a little bit of ribbon to this, like so, and then I'll glue dot that onto my tag. I find it's a lot easier to tie a bow and then glue dot it to a tag versus trying to tie it through that hole and get it to lay the way you want it to lay. So that's why I do that. Okay, and I kind of pulled back on my bow just a little bit. Let's make it even here. Okay, oh, so pretty. There we go. Now you could spritz this with your marker once again if you wanted. I'll do that on this one. I didn't do it on my other one. Ooh, I love that. It's so pretty. So there we go. And then I'm just going to attach that to my box like so. And there you have it, friends. A gorgeous card and a coordinating box to go with it. I hope you loved these projects. If you would like to purchase any of the supplies that I used or take the online class that I've done for this bundle, please check out the links in the description of this video. And thanks so much for stamping with me today, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.